It's a Sony. Now, if you were here for the last video, you would know that I did kind of hint at, and by hint at I mean outright said, that it was going to be a Sony camera that we would be looking at in the next video. Now, this is just a quick look at it. I will do a proper review on this camera later. But long story short, 10 years ago or so, when mirrorless cameras were first coming out, Sony made the A3000. And the A3000 is basically the cheapest camera they could throw together with a 20 megapixel APS-C sensor, mirrorless sensor on it, right? Okay, so the LCD, it's not that great for both the screen and the viewfinder. The ergonomics is actually kind of okay, but it's still a little cramped in my hand, you know. We all know how much I love the ergonomics of my 5D here. Absolute chonkster this thing is, and I absolutely love it. Feels fantastic in the hands. This feels small, even compared to the T5i. The T5i feels a lot more natural in the hands. Now, I will say, right, okay, if we look at it from this point, for some reason, the amount that the Sony pops out with the grip more than the Canon does. It doesn't really look like it here, but if we look at the body part here, it goes deeper in. That part of the grip feels better. But as far as like overall size goes, as far as the rest of the hand goes, the T5i, I say would feel better than this. Just to give you a point of view of the size differences between them, we'll call, is that about even? That's about even. It's a little shorter this way, as well as a little, I don't know how to show that off well on video, but this is it's a little smaller all around. Basically, all dimensions is like, I don't know, 5 to 10% smaller than the T5i. Now, as far as how I'm setting up this camera for the moment, until I learn more stuff about it, it's going to be in the Smart AI or the AI Plus or whatever. Eventually, I'll put it in program and set everything up. But at the moment, it's going to be set to that. Now came the next part. The next issue is, I don't have an adapter for EF yet. That's still a couple days out, and I will get to how I got around that in just a minute. First, we'll go ahead and pop in the battery. You know, super straightforward. There we go. And then that always wants to pop up till you lock it. Then it's in. If we go here, you can actually use this port to charge it instead of using the battery charger. So that is an option for you. Now, really the only option I have for this at the moment is this micro SD card. SanDisk Ultra 128 gigabyte micro SD XC. As far as I know, this SD card is only rated for like 10 gigabits a second? Megabits a second? I can't remember which one. But actually, hold on. If I open up this guy here, what's this say? 80 megabytes a second. Okay, so this the SD card in here is only rated for about 10 megabytes a second, but it has been tested to get up to 60. So for photos, I'm not worried about it. You know, may also get a proper SD card later on, but for the moment, that's what we're working with. Now that our battery is in and our SD card is figured out, back to this. So I thought about it, you know, I got the camera yesterday, and this morning I had a realization. I have a 3D printer. Peep the printer. Let's just go over to Thingiverse and print an adapter. And that's what I did. Now, fully willing to admit, I ran out of black filament, so the rest had to be printed in gray. Although this does mean I have my first successful multicolor 3D print. But, you know, this one was on Thingiverse with like 248 likes or something like that, and it works pretty well. works pretty well. It will require some cleanup around the seam here, but it even has the notch for the peg for the mount. So you find the 3D nub there. You can feel it on your finger. Put it in there, twist, it'll click, and it is on there. Now you bring over your EF lens. It can also be EFS, it fits both. This one is an APS-C lens for an APS-C sensor with an EF mount, because Tamron and Sigma and other third parties like to do that. That just twists on. There's no locking mechanism. It's just friction fit, but it's decent enough with this lens as well as all my other ones so far, so that's pretty good. And this does in fact work. Now the thing with this is you have to use manual focus, which is fine. However, the LCD is cheap like the rest of the camera, right? Okay, so let's just get our late model stock car here, right? It's cheap like the rest of the camera. So while you can definitely tell the difference between more focused or less focused, right? It's still hard to tell the difference. You know, just kind of doing my best here, right? Okay. You know, when I took this out earlier to try to, which button is to magnify here? Nope. Still working on it. Here we go. You know, it's a rough LCD, and it's not that high pixel count either. But if we take it over to the computer, this camera does take some fairly decent photos. When I do a more in-depth review of that, I will show that, of course. But for the moment, this is just a quick overview. We're just going to leave it as is. And yeah, it's hard to get things in focus with this LCD, even if you're looking through the LCD on the viewfinder, which you do by pressing this button here. It'll transition it over. There we go. You can kind of see it. But even looking through there, you know, it's still not that great of an LCD, and it's not. Manual focus on this camera is hard. Now, why did I get this thing? You know, yes, it has a decent sensor on it. You know, yes, it's mirrorless, blah blah blah, but it's still a fairly cheap camera overall. Why did I buy this? Simply put, it was $100. That's right, I got this puppy here for $100, and I got it to dip me into mirrorless, and it can take some decent pictures. It takes a little bit of work. It'll be easier once I get the proper autofocus adapter here. Currently it shipped from California on Tuesday, so it's gonna take a little bit for it to get here because USPS. But yeah, very excited for that adapter to get here, and then for me to be able to take some proper photos with this, as well as maybe mess around with that program mode or whatever, and try to have some better presets for me to use. So yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about the Sony A3000, please feel free to leave them in the comments, like and subscribe if you wish, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.